Okay, so when we talk about absolute value, we've talked about that word value before. Think about when we talked about place value at the beginning of the year. We said a number's value was its worth, it was how much it was worth. So when we talk about absolute value, the official definition is it is the distance of a number from 0 on a number line. So basically, how far is that integer from the number 0? Now, when we measure distance, it would be really weird to say that my pin is -2 inches away from me, right? We don't measure distance in negative numbers. Or my house is -18 miles from here. It just sounds weird and it's not right. So distance is always measured with a positive number. So our answer to any absolute value question is going to be a positive integer because it's measuring the distance. Now, our symbol, I'm going to zoom out a little bit. Sorry for my pterodactyl noise. Our symbol for absolute value looks like someone who is holding up the sign for a touchdown. If you don't know what a touchdown sign looks like, no worries, you're about to see. So the sign for a touchdown is always 2 straight and parallel lines. I think I spelled parallel right. So it looks like this. Just 2 straight up and down lines and a number goes in between it. So let's make it the number 8. So I would read this as the absolute value of 8. Okay, so tomorrow when we recap, remember we said that absolute value looks like someone holding up the sign for a touchdown. So I've got my 2 straight and parallel lines. So when we recap tomorrow, anytime I say absolute value, I want your arms to fly up in that symbol. So we'll say absolute value is the distance from 0, and it's always, always, always positive. Okay, so let's do that one more time. Y'all do this with me. So absolute value is the distance from 0, and it's always, always, always positive. Okay, so let's talk about when we look at a number line. So here is 0. I need to figure out where this dot is. So if I start at 0 and I count backwards, this would be -1, -2, -3, -4, -5. So I want to know what the absolute value of -5 is. So again, I'm measuring how far is that number from the number 0. So if I start at -5 and I count how many spaces it takes to get me to 0, that would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So the absolute value of -5 is just 5. So that's how far it is from 0, and I got a positive answer. Let's do our next one. So here is 0, and so I get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So if I want to know the absolute value of 6, again, I'm counting how far away it is from 0. So this would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 spaces away. So the absolute value of 6 is still just 6. So it doesn't matter whether I'm finding the absolute value of a negative number or a positive number, I'm always going to get a positive answer because, again, we're measuring distance, and distance is always positive. All right, let's do our next one. So here is 0. So if I'm moving to the left, remember these are all of my negative numbers. So this would be -1, -2. So the absolute value of -2, -2 is 1, 2 spaces away from 0. So the absolute value of -2 is just 2. So I've got some problems down here. I'm going to zoom back in. Sorry for my pterodactyl noises. That I want us to look at, okay? So this one says the absolute value of 6. And I've got 2 blanks here. The first blank is because I want to write this using our absolute value symbols. So remember, our absolute value symbols are 2 straight and parallel lines with the number in the middle. So the absolute value of 6. So remember, absolute value, it's the distance from 0, and it's always, always, always positive. So the absolute value of 6 is just the number 6. Our next one, the absolute value of 5 plus 4. So again, I'm going to take this, I'm going to write it using my symbols. So 2 straight up and down lines, 5 plus 4. So 5 plus 4 just gives me 9. So all this question wants to know is what is the absolute value of 9? 9 is 9 spaces away from 0. It's always, always, always positive. So I just get 9. All right, I want you guys to pause the video, try the remainder of this section. So 1, 2, 3, 6 more problems with the people sitting at your table. Let's take about 2 minutes and then we will check these together. Okay, so our first one says the absolute value of 4 2/10. So I'm going to use my symbol, 4 2/10 in the center, and the absolute value is always, always, always positive. So the absolute value would just be 4 2/10. The absolute value of -10 would look like this. So -10, the absolute value is always, always, always going to be positive, and -10 is 10 spaces away from 0. The absolute value of -6 would be written like this. And the absolute value of -6 is just 6. Okay, our next one, the absolute value of 0 would look like this. It's my favorite one to draw because it looks like LOL. Or it looks like a person who's yelling for help. Like, save me. Okay, so sorry. The absolute value of 0. Well, how far is 0 away from 0? It's 0 spaces away. So it's just 0. The absolute value of 12 would be written like this. 12 is 12 spaces away from 0. And last but not least, the absolute value of -5 1/4 would be written like this. And -5 1/4 is 5 1/4 spaces away from 0. So again, it doesn't matter what number you're starting out with. You're just making sure that that answer is going to be positive. All right, let's look at this one down here. I'm going to do one of these with you guys. So I want to know true or false. The absolute value of 9 is equal to the absolute value of -9. So let's go ahead and simplify these. Okay, so the absolute value of 9 is 9. And the absolute value of -9 is 9. So 9 is equal to 9. This is a true statement. Take about 30 seconds. Show me this work on top of each of these problems. Decide if these are true or false with the people sitting at your table. Okay, so I have true or false. The absolute value of -25 is equal to -25, or the absolute value of -25. So the absolute value of -25 is just 25. And I have the same problem right here. The absolute value of -25 is just 25. So 25 is equal to 25. That is a true statement. And last but not least, true or false, the absolute value of -12 is equal to the absolute value of 12. So the absolute value of -12 is just 12. The absolute value of +12 is just 12. So 12 is equal to 12. That is a true statement.